صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let's start with dua for Imam Zaman. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتود. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقي وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة ولعن الله ابن مرجان ولعن الله عمر بن السعد ولعن الله شمرا ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بمضالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونسب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبروا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالات وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحق وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبو سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن إصابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم العنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين، لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم البروج، وثبت لي قدم الصدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected scholar, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Before I invite Sheikh for the lecture, or actually there's an open mic that Sheikh would like to do just before the lecture. So before I invite him for that, I have a few very important announcements. And this one is actually a request. So my humble request to my dear parents is to please ensure that your kids are seated with you at all times during the program. Last night we had a lot of kids running in the front, which is very disturbing to the Sheikh and all the attendees. It breaks the focus and defeats the purpose of these gatherings. We all need to ensure that the environment is conducive to listening, learning, and mourning over the tragedy of Karbala. So please, once again, I know a lot of parents are not here yet, but I hope the message gets to them and you would help me in that. So once again, I request my dear parents to keep your kids with you at all times. And if you find that your child is getting restless or getting loud, please use the father's or the mother's room. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So just a couple more points. If you would like to bring nazr or niyaz or tabarruk these days, please ensure that it is packaged in containers and ready to be handed out, as our kitchen is not available. And so inshallah, this upcoming Saturday on July 22nd, the youth is having a Q&A with the Sheikh. The program is strictly for youth between the ages of 13 and 25, and registration is mandatory. If you need more information, you can contact Brother Muhammad Rashid or Brother Omid for further information. And Azai Hussein has requested that I announce that they are doing their annual procession this upcoming Sunday at 2:30 at Vancouver Public Library. So please do attend if you can. Now let's welcome Sheikh for the open mic. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. فاز من اعتصم بحبلكم، أمن من لجأ إلى حصنكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. In the narration from Imam al-Rida salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he says, كلنا سفن النجاة ولكن سفينة الحسين أوسع وفي لجج البحار أسرع. We are all the arcs of salvation. However, the ark of my grandfather Al-Hussein is much wider, and in the wild seas it is much faster. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Before we begin, inshallah, let's have a loud salawat in our remembrance. A second salawat for the remembrance of our Imam, Imam al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And the third salawat to hasten the appearance of our Imam, Imam al-Asri wa zaman, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today is the 2nd of Muharram. Historically, the 2nd of Muharram is the day when the Imam entered Karbala. I would be remiss if I wouldn't cover a little bit of the history of Karbala. The word Karbala, there is a discussion amongst historians. Is the word Karbala an Arab word or not? Why? That discussion comes from the fact that the Imam Salamullahi alayhi, what does he say? He says, Bala wallahi hiya ardu karbin wa bala. And in the narration from the Prophet, he says that my son will be killed in a land called Karbun wa Bala. Karb and Bala are two words. When you bring them together, when you join them, they become Karbala. What does Karb and Bala mean? Karb means hardship. Bala means subhanallah, a test, something that you are tested with, something that you find difficult to deal with. A land of hardship and sorrow, a land of hardship and a difficult test. That is if we are to say that the word Karbala is an Arabic word. But we know that the Arabs didn't live in that land all of the time. Rather, we know that that land was lived in by the Assyrians, by the Babylonians before them, right? Now, it depends if you're talking about the Neo-Babylon or the Old Babylon, and we're not going to get into that. However, that word, Karbala, has always been named for that place of land. They say in the Babylonian language, Karbala means, Karb means the shrine, and El means God, meaning the shrine of God. And in the Assyrian language, Karb means sacred, holy, blessed. And Allah means land of God. So in both those languages, that land is known as the blessed holy land, the shrine of God, the blessed land of God. That goes hand in hand with our narrations of that land, where we say that every prophet that has come down through or by or next to that land, something happens that drags them to that land. They narrate that Nabiullah Nuh alayhi salam in his ark took a dive into the water. When he said, Ilahi, what have I done? What has happened? He says, nothing has happened, but this is the land of Karbala. You cannot just pass comfortably. Same thing with Nabiullah Idris. They narrate that he would always say, Ya, oh my Lord, why do I feel that I am attracted to this land? By the way, who here knows where Idris lived? Let me see your raise of hands. Okay, where did Noah live? Where did Adam live? Maulana, who here has heard of Masjid al-Kufa? MashaAllah. Only 3 people. I want to see, I don't know. I can't see a hand that's like this. We're not in high school. Yeah, let me see the hands. MashaAllah. Who here has heard of Masjid al-Kufa? Who here has visited Masjid al-Kufa? MashaAllah. When you go to Masjid al-Kufa, have you guys seen that big circular water fountain in the middle of the masjid? That is the place of the ark of Nuh alayhi salam. And the place where the Imam was struck, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, was the home of Nuh and Adam. Now, who here has heard of Masjid al-Sahla? MashaAllah. Masjid al-Sahla is the home of Nabiullah Idris. What's the distance between Kufa and Karbala? Approximately 86 kilometers. Give or take a few kilometers. More give than take. It can be up to 90 kilometers depending on the path you take. So in our narrations, all of the prophets have leaned towards that land. In fact, in some narrations, they say there are up to 200 prophets or awsiya, heirs of the prophets, that have been buried in Karbala. And that wouldn't be surprising if we know that that land is considered sacred to the non-Arabs and the non-Muslims as well. Now, there are other names to that land. One of those names is Nainawa. Another name is Ghadariyah. Another name is Tufuf. Why? Maulana, each one of these names has a specific history. Let's not misquote history, so let me bring up the names. At-Taf. At-Taf meaning the land overlooking marshes. The land overlooking marshland. Why? Because after that land, that's when you get the Euphrates. And in that time, between the Euphrates and the Tigris were all green lands. That's why they used to call it Arbus Sawad, the black lands. Not the black lands in the Western meaning the bad lands. The black lands meaning they were so green, from a distance they look black. Nainawa. Nainawa, there are 2 cities in Iraq named Nainawa, one in the north and one that is next to Karbala. And this name is derived, meaning the land of God, in the Christian language at that time. Nawawis. Nawawis, meaning the graveland or the graveyard, a place of burial. But Nawawis means sacred burials, because the Christians that resided along that area used to come and bury their dead, their deceased, in that land. Al-Ghadariyah, referring to Bani Ghadar, who used to graze that land. And there is another name, and this name is not very well known, and it is Amura. The narration says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi lidhikrihi sallu alayhi wa alihi. He said, my son, to Imam Hussein, you will be killed in Iraq. It is the land where the prophets and their successors go to. You will find, you and your companions will be killed there. You and they will find no pain from the metal of the swords. Then he says, قُلْ وَقُلْنَا يَا نَارْ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا. And we said, O fire, be peaceful and blissful towards Ibrahim. Then he says, Ya Bunay, Ya Aba Abdullah, the war will be cold and safety upon you and upon your companions. Therefore rejoice, O my son. This Amura is only narrated in this narration from what I found. This is the land of Karbala. Now, Nainawa, Nawawis, all of this is either in Karbala or surrounding Karbala, no more than a click or two away, being a kilometer or two away. When we come to the actual land of Karbala, if we can draw in our mentality what the land looked like, where we have today the shrine of Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, sallu alayhi wa alayhi. Around where, around where the shrine is today, from where the mukhayyam, the tents, the camp of the Imam, all the way to a place called Babu Sidra. All of that were hills and mounds. You guys have seen desert mounds, right? They're not too high, they're not too low. However, they narrate that they were no higher than 30 meters. I think that's a lot, personally, because 30 meters is a lot. I think they meant to say 3 meters. Nonetheless, we can refer back to historical narrations and see the accuracy. They say then they start reducing in size until they get to what is today modern day Babu Salalme or Sugu Salalme. For those who are living Karbala or who go to Karbala, they know where that is. That is north of the Imam. As for where you come to the Imam, from where the Imam lies, all the way to Babul Qibla, the mounts also start going down. The area where the Imam is lower than the hills. So it's a flatland. Behind the hills is the encampment of the Imam, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And they are also lower than the hills. The Imam dug a khandaq or a moat and set it on fire around the tents, the camp. So there was one exit and one entrance. So the camp was fortified. That's why when we read, we see how did they come to the tents? They came crossing the moat, the fire, the trench that the Imam set on fire. That's why the Imam says to them, leave them. Let them be distracted with the tents that were outside of that moat. Nonetheless, that is the setup of the battle. Ahead where Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is today, behind him is the Euphrates. And between the two was a portion of the army, not all of the army. A portion of the army. They say Al-Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, when he received the news of the death of Muawiyah, Al-Walid, who was the governor of Medina, was sent. He was not the governor at the time, by the way. It was Marwan ibn al-Hakam that was the governor. Okay? Al-Walid was sent by Yazid to announce the death of Muawiyah. Al-Walid had no want to kill Imam Hussein, according to some narrations. I can't say all narrations. I can say according to some narrations, he had no desire, as it were, to kill the Imam. When he sat there, when he called upon Imam Hussein, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, in his will to Yazid, he says to him, 3 individuals beware of. First of all, beware of Abdullah ibn Umar. But Abdullah ibn Umar, if you give him, he'll be quiet. Beware of Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Wherever you find him, kill him. And beware of Al-Hussein ibn Ali, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. By the way, the advisor of Muawiyah was a man by the name of Sergio Famis, or Sir John as he's known in Arabic. Okay? Now there is dispute as to the actual name of this advisor, but he was a well-known advisor, who also was the advisor of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Muawiyah then says to his son in his will, he says, and heed my warning in three groups. The Meccans and Medinans, the people of Mecca and Medina, those are your background and your lineage. Okay? Give them what they want. The people of Damascus are your sword. Not Damascus, Sham, meaning the Levant. They are your sword. Use them to fight your enemy, but bring them back to their land. For if you leave them outside of their land, their attitudes and their demeanors will change. And beware of Ahlul Iraq, for they flip-flop. If they ask you to change a ruler every day and every night, do so. Otherwise, you will have 60,000 swords facing you. That's rather clear. Maulana Muawiyah is known for his conniving smartness. He's a conniving individual. He's not just smart, he's conniving. You guys know the difference, right? So he sends this letter. They say the man calls upon Imam al-Hussein, al-Walid. When Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi enters, he does not enter by himself. He comes with Bani Hashim and his Shia. Heading them, Imam Hussein. Behind Imam Hussein is a man by the name of Abil Fadl al-Abbas. The Imam turns to them. They are all dressed in military attire. He says to them, wait out here. If you hear our voices raised, enter with your swords in hands. They say they sat down. The Imam sat down. They told the Imam, Muawiyah has passed. And we want take your bay'ah for Yazid, your allegiance for Yazid. The Imam looks at them and he says, I am an individual who does not give allegiance secretly. I'm an individual, you do not want a secret allegiance from me. You would like it for it to be public because then I'm a person of authority, essentially. When I give my allegiance, everybody will fall in suit. The Imam is buying himself time, obviously. Then he says, we shall see you in the morning and we will see what the people decide. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, whom the Prophet calls Al-Wazgh ibn al-Wazgh. Maulana Al-Wazgh is a chameleon. I don't know the actual term in Arabic, in English. It's a type of, it's like a chameleon. It's really annoying in the Arab world. It's very annoying. It's dangerous. It's dirty. It's nothing but headaches. Worse than rats. And it's ugly. All of that, the Prophet calls Marwan ibn al-Hakam al-Wazgh ibn al-Wazgh. The Prophet, not the Imam. Marwan ibn al-Hakam stands up and he says to Al-Walid, do not let him escape. Do not let him escape. If he leaves, you will never be able to have this opportunity again. Either imprison him or cut his head off and send it to Yazid. The Imam gets upset. He stands up and he says to him, are you the one that will kill me or him? Meaning Al-Walid. Then he says to him, listen, I am the son of the grandson. I am the grandson of the Prophet, the son of the daughter of the Prophet. We are the source of purity. We are the source of the message. And Yazid, fasiq, corrupt, fajr, immoral, sharibun lil khamr, drunk, Now, and I want to focus on this term drunk, not someone who drinks, a drunk. What's the difference between someone who drinks and a drunk? Go ahead. Ahsantum. Ahsantum. Someone who has become a part of his system. And we see them, right? We know where they are and we see them in the West. A drunk. قاتل للنفس المحترمة. He kills the innocent and the respected self. Then he says, وَمِثْلِي لَا يُبَايِعُ مِثْلَهُ. And this is an important point. And someone like me does not give allegiance to someone like him. Maulana, what do we take from this? By the way, how many individuals here vote? Nobody votes? One individual? Two individuals? Three individuals? MashaAllah. How can we change if we don't vote? How can we change the world around us if we don't vote? And so I'm not telling you vote or don't vote. That's not my issue. But what does your vote mean? What does your word mean? Maulana, we have to know who we are and who we give our word to. And in order to do that, we have to know where we come from and what is ahead of us. Why do I say that? The next day, Marwan ibn al-Hakam encounters the Imam al-Hussein. He says to him, Ya Aba Abdullah, I am coming to you as an advisor. Ya Aba Abdullah, giving your bay'ah, your oath, your allegiance to Yazid is a benefit for you in this world and the hereafter. Then he says to him, Ya Aba Abdullah, it is but a word. Say this word and be on your way. Say this word and save yourself. Say this word and save your family. What does the Imam say to him? The Imam says to him, عظمت الكلمة. What magnificent a word is. Tawheed is a kalima, is a word. The honor of Allah is a word. The honor of a man is but a word. You want me to give my honor, my word, to an individual like Yazid? Ajib. What is so wrong with these attributes? Brothers and sisters, is there something wrong with electing a drunk as a leader? Put aside the concept of Islam. What is the problem with a drunk? He's not up there. Right? Mutaqallib. Every moment he has a different opinion. You know, they narrate Harun al-Rashid. Harun alladhi laysa bi-Rashid. They narrate Harun al-Rashid used to drink heavily. And when he would drink, he would call upon his goons. When he calls upon his goons, they start shaking. Why? Because he'll kill someone, and the next day, he'll ask, where's so-and-so? He said, you killed him yesterday. You ordered for him to be executed. He says, and why did you follow my orders? You're the Khalifa. You're the leader. That's the problem with electing a drunk. Electing an immoral individual. What is wrong with electing an immoral individual? If he has no morals, how can you value his stance? That's what we're going through today, right? Morality is being thrown out the window without going into details. Morality is being thrown out the window and it's being called immorality, is being called acceptance and humanity. They are teaching our kids immorality and expecting us to stay silent. Nonetheless, an immoral individual, a corrupt individual you cannot be safe from. An individual who is corrupt, who is based on corruption, you cannot find a way out from him. These attributes within a leader create havoc within the nation. Then the Imam says, على الإسلام السلام. Say goodbye to Islam if it has fallen under the rule of an individual like Yazid. Maulana, how long was Yazid's rule? 3 years. The first year, he killed Al-Imam Al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh. The second year, he attacked Al-Madinah. And he let his troops, he gave them 3 days to do as they wish. In the narrations, in some narrations, they say up to 3,000 virgins gave birth that year. From the raping and pillaging of Yazid's army. And on the third year, he put his gaze upon Mecca, and in order to kill Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and he struck the Kaaba with catapults. And as his army was striking the Kaaba with catapults, he died. Mysteriously, nobody knows where he is or what happened to him. There are a lot of theories, but nobody knows the truth behind it. That is Yazid ibn Muawiyah. When you come and you tell me it is not theological, Maulana, the person who makes this claim, he says because the Prophet passed away and the wahi no longer comes, so therefore we cannot add anything to theology. If that's the case, why did your rulers decide to go to war against the Persians and the Romans? And was it not for the theological expansion of Islam as you claim? If that's the case, why is it that your history is full of blood and death under the guise that this individual is kafir? You can make one of two claims. You can tell me Al-Husayn ibn Ali salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi is a kafir, and I will ask you for proof. Or you can tell me Yazid is a kafir, and I don't need proof, because the proof is in the pudding, as they say. His actions tell me that he is outside the bracket of Islam. Unless you tell me the Prophet cried over Imam Hussein and the Prophet is wrong. When the Prophet says, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein Sayyida Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, the Prophet is wrong. When the Prophet says, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein Imaman Qama aw Qa'ada, the Prophet is wrong. When the Prophet says, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein, the Prophet is wrong. When the Prophet says, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein, what is there more that needs to be said? Husaynun minni, Hussein is from me, and I am from Hussein. But Maulana, the issue is not Hussein. The issue is before Hussein. The issue is Ali. The issue is before Ali. The issue is Fatima. The issue is before Fatima. The issue is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. On his way to Karbala, Al-Imam Al-Hussein encounters a man commanding a platoon of warriors. This man is the head of a tribe, the tribe of Bani Riyah At-Tamimi. They are from Tamim, specifically Bani Riyah. His name was Al-Hurr ibn Yazid, not the same Yazid. Yazid was a normal Arabic name. Al-Hurr was a commander of a platoon of the empire. Al-Hurr was not Umawi. Al-Hurr had his heart with the Alawis, with Amir al-Mu'mineen, but he could not pronounce it publicly. For those who grew up in Iraq, they know that during the time of the previous regime, in order for you to get any position, you had to be a part of the what? Hizb al-Ba'ath, right? You liked it or not. If you wanted to be successful, you had to be a part. You did not have to subscribe to it ideologically. Same thing during the time of Bani Umayyah. Al-Hurr is given the charge of interceding Imam al-Hussein and not letting him proceed, stopping him or dragging him to Kufa. But he was not given the full plan. He was not given the story of the war that is about to be waged. Al-Hurr was an older man. He's in his 50s. They say, or he narrates, he says, as I left, I heard a caller call, Hani'an laka ya Hurr, abshir bil Jannah. Congratulations, O Hurr, rejoice in the heavens. He says, I thought to myself, Wayhan laka ya Hurr, how dare you, Hurr? You go to face the son of the Prophet and you are being rejoiced with the Jannah? That sounds contradictory. They say when they met in a land, I forgot what it's called now, approximately 160 kilometers outside of Karbala. When they came, Imam al-Hussein did not walk out to them in military garb. Rather, they say, جاء إليهم الحسين بإزار ونعلان, wearing slippers and a long dress. You know how the Arabs wear? He did not come out to them ready for war. When they got their horses and they were exhausted, Al-Imam al-Hussein, he said to his companions, feed them, give them water, wash their horses. Then Al-Hurr and his companions prayed after Imam al-Hussein every prayer. They say once they got to the land of Karbala, Imam al-Hussein wanted to move. Al-Hurr said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I can't let you leave. The Imam looks at him and he says, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ مَاذَا تُرِيد? May your mother mourn you. What do you want from me? He says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, humbly, were it anyone else and any other mother, I wouldn't have spoken. But you are the son of Fatima to Zahra. What can I say to you, Ya ibn Rasulullah? But I have my command. They say Al-Hurr accompanied the Imam. He stayed with the Imam. He wouldn't let him leave. However, when the Imam got back on his horse, the horse now wouldn't move. He looks and he says, give me another horse. They give him another horse. He says that horse wouldn't move. He says, give me another. That horse wouldn't move. 7 horses the Imam exchanges and none of them move. The Imam then turns to his companions and he says, what is this land called? They said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, this is called Nawawis. He says, is there another name? They said, yes, Nainawa. He says, is there another name? They said, yes, At-Taf. He says another. They said, yes, Karbala. فَقَالَ بَلَا بَلَا وَاللَّهِ هِيَ أَرْضُ كَرْبٍ وَبَلَا. This is where you let down. This is where you will die, my companions. Get off of your horses. They say, Al-Hurr al-Riyahi, Ridwanullahi alayh. On the day of Ashura, he is the commander or one of the commanders of the enemy's platoons. He looked when Imam al-Hussein calls upon Umar ibn Sa'ad. And Imam says to him, Ya Umar, what do you want? He says, Umar ibn Sa'ad, he says to him, I can't do anything. Yazid wants this done to you. Ubaidullah wants this done to you. Al-Hurr hears this, then he turns to him. And he says to him, Ya Umar, do you really want to kill Ibn bint Rasulullah al-Hussein? He says, wallah, aqitalun. I will fight him, the least of which the heads will roll and the limbs will fall. They say Al-Hurr looked at him and he says, why don't you give him a way out? Umar ibn Sa'ad says, if it were up to me, I would. But your Mawla wants this. Your Amir wants this. Ubaidullah and Yazid. They say Al-Hurr started looking around. He walked, he started edging closer. A man came up to him, one of his friends. He said to him, Ya Hur, what do you want? Do you want to charge against the Hussein? Do you want to charge against Hussein right now? He turns and he says to him, No, I'm standing here. Then he started shaking. When he started shaking, his companion looks at him and he says, Ya Hur, if I was asked who was the bravest in Kufa, I wouldn't say it was anyone other than you. Ya Hur, what is this fear that I see of you? He looks at him and he says, وَيْحَكَ إِنِّي أُخَيِّرُ نَفْسِي بَيْنَ الجَّنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ. How dare you? I am standing between two options, either heaven or hell. فوالله لا أختار على الجنة شيئا. By Allah, I shall never choose anything other than paradise. Then he charged towards the camp of Imam al-Hussein with his son and his brother tailing along. When he came close, he got off of his horse, took off his armor. Then he stood in front of the camp of Imam al-Hussein and called out, Ya Sayyidi, Ya Aba Abdullah, Helli min tawbah, can I be forgiven? The Imam says to him, Who is this? He says, It is me, Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. He says, Bala ya Hur, in tubta tab Allahu alayk. If you seek tawbah, then Allah shall give you tawbah, ya Hur. He says, Sayyidi, Ya Aba Abdullah, I have one request of you. Subhanallah, Hur. You are the one that stopped the Imam from moving. And now you want a request from Hussein? He says, Bala. What is your request, Ya Hur? He says, I want to be the first individual that dies in battle. However, that was not granted. He did not die the first. He died after whom? He died after Habib ibn Mabahir al-Asadi. Maulana, they narrate that al-Hur alayhi salam خرج الحر ابن يزيد الرياحي وزهير ibn al-Qain. These two companions of the Imam. And they would fight together. Whenever one would become overwhelmed, the other would come and get him out of harm's way. Up until they became too much, the enemy surrounded them from every corner, and they killed them both. They killed first Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. When they killed him, the Imam came running towards Al-Hurr. He picked up Al-Hurr and took him back. When he took him back, he looked at him and he says, Bella, Bella, your mother was correct when she named you Hurr, meaning the free one. You are Hurr in this world and you are happy in the hereafter. They say at that moment, Ali al-Akbar, Radwanullahi alayhi, he says, لَنَعْمَ الْحُرْ حُرُّ بَنِي رِيَاحِ صبور عند مشتبك الرماح ونعم الحر إذ فادى حسينا وجاد بنفسه عند الصباح. The best Hur is the Hur of Bani Riyah, patient when he met the enemy's lances and spears. And the best Hur is the one who sacrificed himself instead of Hussein, and he ensured that Hussein lives that much longer. Brothers and sisters, I ask Allah بحق الحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه والتسعة المعصومين من بنيه أن يفرج عنا فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب من ذلك. Hur is a great example for an individual who had one style of living and gave it up for another. I ask Allah that we use Hur as an example in our life and that we move forward on the path of Ahlul Bayt. Brothers and sisters, who has asked me for dua وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ الفاتح مع الصلوات.
आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। मेरे सीनों में लगाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। बेटा तुम्हारा कातिल मेरे सामने खड़ा है, जाने क्यों हंस रहा है। चादर भी लुट चुकी है, मुंह किस तरह छुपाऊं, असगर है तेरी माँ। तेरी झूले को सकीना रो रो के चूमती है, मैं ढूंढती है। तेरी मौत की खबर मैं कैसे उसे सुनाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। मेरी जान ये सोच सोच असगर, इस फूल से गले पर ये तीर कैसे झेला, बहनों को क्या बताऊं, असगर मैं तेरी माँ। ने जैसे सांस तुम्हारा, दिल रोता है हमारा, मैं हाथ तो बंधे सर किस तरह उठाऊं, असगर मैं तेरी माँ। आ जाओ मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। झूले के साथ बेटा हाथ मेरे हाथ जाने भी हंस है, तेरी आखिरी निशानी है, किस तरह बचाऊं, असगर है तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर तेरी माँ। जब रात होगी गन में, हो जाएगा अंधेरा, डरना नहीं है बेटा, दादी कहेंगी तुमसे, आ मैं तुझे सुनाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। मेरे गोद में तुम रात को हमेशा सुनते थे माँ से लोरी, अब नींद आती होगी फिर गोद में लिटा कर, नादे सुनाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ। आ जाओ चांद मेरे, तेरी प्यास मैं बुझाऊं, असगर में तेरी माँ।
همه جا کربلاست، همه جا نینواست، همه جا کربلاست، همه جا نینواست. توی عرش خدا حتی وزم روزه به پاس، بیرق و پرچم و تکیه و علم، شوق زیارت دیدن حرم، کاشکی بمونه برام. دورم و وقتی نمیشه که برم، اسم حسین و همین که میبرم، زائر کرب و بلام. حی علی الحرم، حی علی الحسین، تو هر شرایطی لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین. Everyone together. لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین. میگیره دستمو کرم اهل بیت، میگیره دستمو کرم اهل بیت، جایی که روزه هست میشه حرم اهل بیت. دلخوشی من بیرق ازات، روزی روزه گرفته برات، کاشکی بمونه برام. نور حیاتی و کشتی نجات، دور حرم ولی من با یه نگات، زائر کرب و بلام. راه نجات ما از غصه ها حسین، راه نجات ما از غصه ها حسین، تو هر شرایطی لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین. همه جا کربلا، همه جا نینوا، همه جا کربلا، همه جا نینوا. توی عرش خدا حتی وزم روزه به پاس، بیرق و پرچم و تکیه و علم، شوق زیارت دیدن حرم، کاشکی بمونه برام. دورم و وقتی نمیشه که برم، اسم حسین و همین که میبرم، زائر کرب و بلام. حی علی الحرم، حی علی الحسین، تو هر شرایطی لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین. همه خواهشم روز و شب کربلا، همه خواهشم روز و شب کربلا، به همین زودیا ما رو به طلب کربلا. روز و نوح و اشک بی دریغ، سوز و حرارت و ناله عمیق، کاشکی بمونه برام. موکب و چای عراقی و طریق، شونه به شونه کناره رفیق، راهی کرب و بلام. سر میشه زندگیم هر لحظه با حسین، سر میشه زندگیم هر لحظه با حسین، تو هر شرایطی لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین، لبیک یا حسین. صلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. متوجه زيارة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا سار الله وابن ساره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى آتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من متلحمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الحادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وآلام الهدى والأروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبكم مؤمن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة الشهزادة علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. ولعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة الشهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباه. السلام عليك يا أسفياء الله وعداه. السلام عليك يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة السيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي ولي الناس. السلام عليك يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرت عباس أبو الفضل العباس. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح مطيع لله ولرسوله. وأشهد أنك قد جهدت ونصحت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين والحقهم بدرجة كالجحيم. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان شريك القرآن مظهر الإيمان إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وزهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. محمد وآل محمد صلوات الله صل على
اللهم